G'day, AJ Mahari here. Are people with BPD, especially untreated, are they trying to dump their pain, so essentially their BPD, sort of onto you so that they can just feel better or something like that? No, not really. Because again, it goes to repetition compulsion cycles, which, by the way, you should not excuse. They are deal breakers. When they are repeating these patterns from the adverse experience of childhood, that these patterns and what's happening for them is in their unconscious. So they don't really know what they're doing or why they're doing it. So people with BPD aren't just trying to dump something on you because it's like they want you to have the pain and the difficulty or feel what they feel or anything like, or because they want to get you with that. No, it's their externalized out. It's like an automatic defense mechanism, which is not okay. What you end up going through with that, how that is for other people. So it's very important to know that. And to know that rather than trying to figure out this, that, the other thing about the person, you're already in a deal breaker situation where this isn't going to help you. This isn't going to serve you in any way, and the relationship is not mutual or reciprocal. People with BPD untreated cannot love you, will not love you, do not love you, do not see you, do not experience you as you, and they don't attach either. So, the other thing about this as well is the fact that people with BPD, they're not pretending. Stuff is happening. I've explained many reasons in many videos before what it is, and they get triggered to emotional dysregulation sometimes, which is, you can't know how they feel inside. So they have all this incredible feeling. It could be like incredibly horrible feelings. And it could be emotional pain, it can be stress, it can be anxiety, it can be many more things than that even. But what is happening there is they are dissociatively, to one degree or another, but they know where they are and what day it is, but they are dissociatively re-experiencing adverse childhood experience in the here and now, which gets triggered, which is normally, like, more often than not, an internal trigger. It's not what you did or what you didn't do, what you said or what you didn't say, that kind of thing. And so the reality of that is you're in the here and now and they're not. And then they externalize it out onto you because they don't know why what's happening for them is happening. And they don't know what to do with it. So they're not trying to dump it on you, but they're trying to, they believe, magical thinking, that the person closest to them caused them to feel what they're feeling because they don't have any they don't have any reference for what they're feeling and experiencing and can't tolerate in the here and now. There's no conscious awareness of that. And so, you get blamed for stuff that has nothing to do with you, really can hurt and wound you. And yet it's not just, quote, BPD doing it. It's not just a mental illness of borderline personality, unquote, doing it. And they can't help. Well, they can't help it. But they could help it overall if they would go get treatment, right? So there's still that aspect of personal responsibility when every time they externalize out after they're triggered to emotional dysregulation, which, like I said, can involve dissociation. Sometimes it involves the triggered emotional dysregulation involves not only dissociation but also age regression. That age regression doesn't always take them back to 2. Could take them back to sort of like a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old, an 8-year-old. The point is that doesn't always happen. And so in between triggered, dysregulated episodes, shall we say, which people with BPD have no conscious awareness of what's driving that if they're untreated, in between these times, they can be fairly objectively in otherwise a shared reality, because it's not like they don't know what day it is or what's going on in the world. It's just this emotional impossibility of trying to be in relationships, especially with untreated BPD. So it's not that the, quote, mental illness of BPD, unquote, is doing it. It's repetition compulsion. It's something buried deep in their unconscious that comes from childhood that they're reenacting when they're triggered, but they don't consciously know this. And so they're not pretending either. But are they setting out to just dump it on you to get rid of it to feel better? Well, no. But can it have that effect for them? Yes. Because they think, again, the magical thinking. They rather believe that all that what they just felt that they couldn't tolerate, couldn't stand. And you can't know what that's like inside, but it is there's so many adjectives I could put to it, but it's an incredibly painful thing. It usually involves anxiety, stress, maybe the feeling like something's about to just annihilate them. And so with all that going on inside, it doesn't make what they do next, okay. But then when they externalize that out, because they've learned that since very young childhood, like in infancy, this externalization process starts. But of course, it's on a biological level. And it's, I've explained that in other videos. But if you have a specific question to that, please feel free to leave a comment. And, maybe I can just answer you in the comments. So, if not in another video. But the thing is, they're not dumping it so that you'll have to bear it. They don't have awareness of their impact on others if they're untreated. So again, it's not some plan. Or, but do they end up feeling better after they externalize it and put it all over you? Yeah, they do. Because then they've got rid of it because they really magically thinking, which is believing what they feel is real. They feel like you did it to them and you didn't. And it doesn't matter what you did say, didn't say, did do, didn't do. No, you're not responsible for it. When a person with BPD is triggered to emotional dysregulation and then they have this dissociative experience of their past being re-experienced internally at least until they externalize it in the here and now, because that's buried deep in their unconscious and they are not aware of what's driving that. But you on the other side of that, when they externalize that because they don't know what else to do, no, it's not okay how they treat you. And that's what people with codependency have to learn, that when this is what's going on, rather than ask that question why, and try to pursue watching endless videos on that'll be erroneous 9 times out of 10 anyways, I'm trying to explain to you the why doesn't matter as much as the what. Because when they're acting like this and they're dumping this stuff on you and you're getting sort of the adverse experience, right, the capital T experience, and you're getting really hurt, that's your cue right there for like, this is not okay and you need to get out of that relationship. Or if it's a parent or a sibling or whatever other relationship type, you need to seriously think about really low no contact, if not no contact. And in chosen relationships, no contact. But people with codependency, you get your own repetition compulsion cycles and you keep, thinking about the good, ignoring the bad, going back, hoping it'll get better, trying to rescue them, fix them, trying to get them to go to therapy, which, by the way, even if they go to therapy, they're not going to be able to change really quick. They're not going to be able to it's not going to save your relationship. So people have to radically accept that after this person seemed like the best person for you, the best person since sliced bread, the best of everything that you ever wanted, it's not who they turned out to be, and they weren't pretending, and they didn't do that on purpose either, consciously, and you didn't know what you were going to get into, and so it's the quest of the question why. And why I'm even doing a video on this topic, do borderlines just dump their BPD on you, or is their BPD making them do it? Well, no, it's what they're experiencing as a result of what happened in the adverse childhood experience, that the majority of those, 87% of those who go on to be diagnosed with BPD have had in their life, and it's unresolved. And it's in their unconscious. It is not in their conscious mind. And that's what therapy seeks to change. To bring what is in the unconscious to consciousness. To be able to heal and work through it. And people with BPD can heal and do recover. And so this idea out there, BPD is such a serious, well, it is serious. And whether you call it a mental illness or not, the APA calls it that and pathologizes it as much as they can. And in other areas of the world right now, and more professionals are realizing this is an adverse child experience response, but it doesn't change anything about what you're going through. It informs more about how to treat people with BPD when they seek it. But the bottom line is, like, they're not pretending. And they also, it's key to remember, it doesn't excuse their behavior at all. Just an explanation. They are not consciously aware of the impact that they're having on you. And, if you think, well, what do you mean by that? Just remember all the times you've tried to tell them how you felt, what you experienced, that gets into that, long looping, getting nowhere, no closure to any episode of triggered emotional dysregulation, etc., let alone after the relationship ends. But you get into those justify, argue, defend, and explain, quote, conversations, unquote, which you're the one doing all the justifying, the arguing, the defending, and explaining, because you've asked them, like, what just happened here? Why did they yell or scream at you? Why did they give you, what you experienced as a silent treatment, which is their withdrawal for other reasons? Again, motivated by things that are happening for people with BPD internally that you can't really know. So what's really important about all this is that you need to focus on yourself. You can't rescue, fix, change, enable any stronger or harder to any better outcome. Whether a person with BPD is going to go to treatment or not, which is a long process. So it's really about radically accepting what is. And yeah, people with codependency, you really need to, it's hard. That's why people need therapy. It's a process. It's a really multi-level process. But you need to start by radically accepting two things. One is this person isn't who you thought they were, and that's very painful. And the second thing, well, three actually. The second thing is you can't change them and you can't fix them. This relationship is not going to work out if they're untreated with BPD, and you're untreated with your codependency. And thirdly, it's time to go. People stay in these relationships because that's the codependent repetition compulsion cycle, which I've talked about in other videos. Please check out my videos that talk about codependency, live streams, and other videos. So the bottom line is, no, people with BPD are not just dumping it on you to somehow get rid of it, though it can seem like that because they're externalizing it out onto you, and then maybe they feel better and you're really hurting, and they're not consciously aware of any of that. But that doesn't give them a pass. It doesn't mean you should stay with them. It doesn't mean you should keep going through the same thing. It means you have a choice to make. Get out of the relationship. It's not working. They don't see you. They don't love you. They can't attach to you. They can't accept your love. Never mind all this nonsense online about, they want to be with somebody who'll treat them worse, or, they get along better with narcissists. No, they don't. That's a whole other kind of like unhealthy bond situation, but nobody's having a delightful time in those relationships. People with BPD certainly aren't. So what you really need to think about is the reality that, again, they're not who you thought they were, which is devastating to people, without a doubt, and so painful. And often for people not borderlines with codependency, it's also replaying something from your childhood and your family of origin. So I'm out here to work with you if you want to get into this healing and recovery process, which is multifaceted, multi-layered, takes time to heal and recover from the relationship and codependency and your family of origin issues, the wounded inner child that you have, or you wouldn't be in this situation in the first place. Which doesn't, it's not to say anything about you have any responsibility in what the person with BPD does or did or has, keeps doing. But the bottom line is there's just too much misinformation out there that tries to explain what's happening with people with BPD when without understanding the inside of it, without understanding what's motivating and driving a lot of what is, quote, monstrous, unquote, behavior, what are you still there for? And I know that's a tough question, and people with codependency are still there for all kinds of reasons, But if you think the relationship can work out, and if you think that what they're doing to you is love, that is an illusion or a delusion of epic codependent proportions. And yes, many people with codependency are trying to avoid the reality of the situation because that's how programmed you are against taking care of yourself. Because codependency starts in childhood, and you've had this pattern in your life for some time, a long time, however old you are, pretty much, minus a few years. And you maybe didn't know it before. So, I guess I don't know about the only, but the one gift of a relationship with somebody with BPD, these most unique, difficult, painful, requiring therapy and a lot of, time and healing work, relationship breakups, the one thing they offer you is a chance to get to know you better and to change what is at the heart of codependency, a dysfunctional relationship to and with yourself. So rather than keep pursuing why are they doing what they're doing, oh, do they have BPD? Because maybe they're undiagnosed. Is it BPD or is it BPD comorbid NPD? Because yes, BPD and comorbid NPD is a reality for about 16% of people diagnosed with BPD. And why would that be? Because unlike you'll hear on other YouTube channels and other places online, BPD is not NPD. They are not one and the same. So you have to watch where you get your information from, because if you care to have your information be accurate, so it can be most helpful to you. So with all of this, then, what you really need to focus on today, if you haven't already or you're not, is you getting into therapy, your own healing, recovery, more to the point, ending the relationship if the person with BPD doesn't end it on you. Go no contact, and don't engage in repetitive, cycles of reverse Hoover, stealth reverse Hoover, getting Hoovered. You need to go no contact. It feels impossible. But please, what you need to hear here if you really want to get on that journey to wellness, your own healing and recovery from the relationship and codependency, to not have any more of your life, as some people say, wasted, which I would say, well, anything that's an experience isn't necessarily a waste if you take the growth opportunity and get into therapy to heal and recover, to be able to move forward in a much healthier and different way than you've ever known in relationships in your life so far. So stop pursuing. Why? Why are they doing this? How come they seem like that? Then they've devalued me, then this happened. Because you don't have to figure it all out. You really don't. You're not going to get any closure. It's not going to help your cognitive dissonance. It's not going to save you any rumination to try to figure out why. When I work with clients, again, I'm not here to work with you if you resonate with me. Clients in the process that I work with them in, and that healing recovery journey, when they're doing their work and processing everything, family of origin, wounded inner child, and the relationship with the ex, and sometimes simultaneously in different parts of the work at different times, that's where you get the closure. Because that's going to come from you doing your work to know yourself better. Not you trying to become a BPD expert or a BPD NPD expert. We see enough people on YouTube, exes, I'm not saying all of them, but some of them exes of those with BPD or whatever, and very rarely do they say anything germane, relevant, or accurate. There's a lot of histrionic hyperbole out there, and it's not going to help you. And if you identify with those kind of information sources wherever you find them on the internet, just know that you're still wanting to hear what you want to hear versus hearing what you absolutely really need to hear to be able to make healthier choices for yourself, which begin with getting out of the relationship, or if you've been ghosted or discarded, accepting that, radically accepting that. That of course it hurts, it isn't what you wanted. You don't have any control over anybody but yourself. And what are non-borderline codependents doing all the time, unfortunately? Unless until they get into treatment of their own. You are denying and abandoning yourself and pursuing and information on BPD, NPD, cluster B, and hearing all kinds of crazy stuff out there too. Not everywhere, but I'm just saying in places. And you are yeah, wanting to hear what you want to hear because you're not finished. The key thing you need to know is people with BPD aren't just trying to dump it all on you. You can't catch it. They're not consciously aware of what they're doing. Doesn't make it okay. Why are you still there? And are you watching these videos of so many pseudo experts out there who claim to be so expert and they'll psychoanalyze you, but they have no professional training whatsoever? And I don't think that's a way to deal with commenters, etc., is to be arguing with everybody on your channel, which I've seen people doing, and I've seen people do it all over the internet. People are arguing with each other all over these things. Bottom line is, you just need to stop asking questions about them right now, as much as that might feel, impossible. Stop the pursuit. It goes back to your childhood, your family of origin, where if you do that healing and recovery work, you can learn what that's about. And you can find the kind of closure that you're never going to find by pursuing the why of the borderline or the narcissist, or learning more and more about it, or trying to think that you can know it inside out. Because regardless of what you learn intellectually about BPD or NPD, what information you take in that's accurate, like on my channel, or what's inaccurate other places and other places on the internet, you're prolonging and continuing and deepening your own suffering after the fact of what's happened with a person, usually untreated with BPD in your life. So stop pursuing the question why. Don't think you need to become an expert in BPD, or that you necessarily can without a lot of education, or depending on your lived experience, or cluster Bs. It's not important. You're more important than that. That's what people with codependency need to realize. You want to end the rumination, you want to end the cognitive dissonance, you want to end all that you're suffering? Get into your own therapy and healing and recovery process, and work it. And radically accept that what happened with the borderline happened. And I mean, radical acceptance is just a gateway to change. It's not saying that anything they did was okay. It's not saying that you're not in a world of hurt. But people with codependency add to the world of hurt that the person with BPD's, kind of left you with, or is still, it's still happening to you because of what's going on. It doesn't matter how much you understand it. Guess what? It's not going to change it. And it's not going to make it hurt any less. So, no, people with BPD don't just dump stuff on you to get rid of it so they feel better. And because, that's cyclical, right? They're never going to feel better until they learn a lot more and go, in therapy. And people with codependency are focusing so much on, are they pretending? People with BPD are pretending. They're doing this, they're doing that. They fooled me. All of that. Yeah, maybe it happened in the beginning, but they weren't doing it consciously. And now you know more, and so now it's your responsibility if you're still allowing this to happen to you. Because why are you there? And that's what you need to hear, maybe not what you want to hear. Take care.